You woke up this morning carrying something. Maybe you couldn't name it. It sits somewhere between your chest and your throat, that low, persistent hum of worry that follows you from room to room, quiet enough to ignore, but heavy enough to exhaust you by noon. And the strange part, nothing catastrophic even happened. Life is simply a lot. If that's where you are right now, you're in exactly the right place. In Mindfulness, we explore ancient wisdom for the very real struggles of everyday life. Today, we're walking through 6 Buddhist habits, not theories, not affirmations, but daily practices that can genuinely loosen anxiety's grip and return you to something you may have almost forgotten. The feeling of being at peace inside your own life. Let's walk through them together. 1. Begin the day in silence. Before the world speaks first. Most of us hand our mornings away before we even realize it. The phone lights up, the notifications pour in, the noise of the world rushes through the door we forgot to keep closed. And just like that, before your first cup of tea has cooled, the mind is already running, already reacting, already tightening with the weight of everything that needs doing or could go wrong. The Buddha said, "The morning is a gift before the world asks anything of you." And while those exact words may not appear in ancient texts, the spirit behind them is everywhere in Buddhist practice. The early hours, those quiet minutes before the household stirs, before the news cycle reaches you, before the demands of the day settle on your shoulders, those minutes are yours, and how you use them sets the tone for everything that follows. There was a man named Samuel, a retired teacher in his late 60s, who described his anxiety as something that met him at the door each morning. Before his feet hit the floor, his mind was already rehearsing the day's worries. What if his health check didn't go well? What if his daughter was still upset with him? What if? A friend suggested something simple. Before reaching for the phone, before speaking a single word, sit for 5 minutes in silence. Not meditation necessarily, just stillness. Eyes open or closed. No agenda, just the sound of your own breathing in a quiet room. Samuel was skeptical. 5 minutes felt almost pointless, but he tried it and then tried it again. Within 2 weeks, he noticed something subtle but undeniable. The anxiety didn't disappear, but it no longer met him at the door. It arrived later, and by then he had already found his footing. This is the first habit. Protect your morning silence like something sacred, because it is. In Buddhist tradition, the early hours are considered a time of clarity, when the mind is closest to its natural, uncluttered state. Before the ego wakes up fully, before yesterday's unfinished arguments resume, there is a window of peace. Step into it deliberately. You don't need an hour, you don't need a cushion or incense or the right app. You need 5 minutes of deliberate quiet, no input, no output, just presence, just breath, just the morning as it actually is before your anxiety tells you what it might become. Start tomorrow. Before anything else, before the screen, before the scroll, sit in the silence and let the day come to you gently on your own terms. 2. Eat one meal in complete mindfulness. This might be the habit that surprises you most, not because it's difficult, but because it's so ordinary, so quietly radical in its simplicity. In a world that glorifies busyness, eating while distracted has become almost universal. We eat while watching, while scrolling, while talking, while half planning the rest of the afternoon. And in doing so, we miss an opportunity that comes 3 times a day, every single day of our lives. Buddhist monks have long treated meals as a form of meditation, not because food is sacred in a religious sense, but because the act of eating mindfully forces you into the present moment completely. The warmth of the bowl in your hands, the color and texture of what's in front of you. The first taste, truly tasted, not half noticed while your eyes are somewhere else. Anxiety lives in the future. It thrives on projection, on rehearsal, on the endless simulation of things that haven't happened yet. But your mouth can only taste what's in it right now. Your hands can only feel what they're holding in this moment. Mindful eating is not a food practice. It is a training of the mind to return, repeatedly and gently, to what is actually here. Consider the experience of a woman named Agnes, 73, who had struggled with low-level anxiety for most of her adult life. She began eating lunch alone, without television, without her phone. Just her meal, and the afternoon light coming through the kitchen window. The first few days felt almost uncomfortable. The silence seemed loud. Her mind kept reaching for distraction, but she stayed with it. And something began to shift. Not all at once, but meal by meal. She started noticing things she had stopped seeing. The smell of warm soup, the way sunlight moved across the table, small moments of genuine pleasure she had been bypassing for years. The habit is this: choose one meal each day and eat it completely without distraction. Put the phone in another room. Turn off the screen. Sit down fully, not perched at the counter, but actually seated. Take 3 slow breaths before you begin. Then eat slowly, noticing each sensation without judgment. This is not about perfect mindfulness. It is about practicing return. Your mind will wander. That's fine. Each time it does, come back to the taste, the texture, the warmth, the moment. You are training something deeper than attention. You are training trust. Trust that the present moment is enough. That right now in this chair, with this bowl, nothing is missing, nothing needs fixing. You are here, and that is whole. 3. Walk without destination. There is a kind of walking the world has mostly forgotten. Not walking to get somewhere, not the efficient head-down stride from the car to the building, but walking as its own purpose. Walking as prayer, as practice, as homecoming. In Zen tradition, there is a practice called kinhin, walking meditation. It looks almost absurdly simple. You walk slowly, in step with your breath, fully aware of each foot as it lifts, moves, and meets the earth again. No destination, no timeline. Just the body moving through the world with complete attention. You don't need to practice formal kinhin to receive its gifts. You simply need to walk sometimes without needing to arrive anywhere. A man named George, 68, a former accountant whose mind never seemed to stop calculating, was told by his doctor to reduce stress. He tried the gym. He tried reading. Nothing quite worked. Then one afternoon he left his house without his phone and simply walked around his neighborhood with no route in mind. He turned left where he usually turned right. He stopped to look at a tree he'd passed 1,000 times without seeing. He noticed how the air smelled different on the shaded side of the street. He came home 40 minutes later feeling, he said, like something had been quietly put back in place. The habit is this: once a day, or even 3 times a week, take a walk that has no purpose other than the walking itself. Leave the earbuds behind. Leave the to-do list inside. Walk slowly enough that you can feel each step. Notice what your eyes are drawn to. Let your breathing settle into a natural rhythm. When anxious thoughts arise, as they will, don't fight them. Simply return your attention to the sensation of walking, the ground beneath your feet, the movement of your arms, the weight shifting from heel to toe. Your body knows how to do this. Let it lead. Buddhist wisdom teaches that the earth beneath us is always steady, even when we are not. Each step is a reminder. You are supported, you are held. The world is still here, solid and real, beneath every worry your mind can manufacture. Walking without destination teaches the anxious mind something it desperately needs to learn. That not everything requires a goal. That moving through life with gentle attention is enough. That peace is not at the end of the path. It is the path itself. Each step, each breath, each quiet moment of simply being here. 4. Release one worry before sleep. Sleep should be a return to stillness, and yet, for so many people, the moment the head meets the pillow, the mind begins its nightly inventory. Everything unfinished, everything uncertain, everything that could go wrong tomorrow, or next week, or next year. The anxiety that stayed quiet through the busy hours of the day finds its voice in the dark. Buddhism speaks often of what it calls the monkey mind, the restless, swinging, never-settling quality of thought that pulls us from branch to branch, never resting, always moving. And nowhere is the monkey mind louder than in the hour before sleep. The fourth habit is this. Before you close your eyes each night, take one worry, just one, and consciously release it. This is not about pretending the worry doesn't exist. It is about recognizing with honesty and tenderness that holding it through the night will not resolve it. That the version of you that exists at 11 p.m., tired, alone in the dark, is not equipped to solve tomorrow's problems. And keeping the worry alive through the night doesn't protect you from it. It just costs you your rest. A woman named Patricia, 71, had spent years losing sleep over her adult children. Were they okay? Were they making good choices? Was she still needed? One evening, on the advice of a counselor, she began a simple ritual. She would sit at the edge of her bed, breathe slowly, and say quietly to the room, "I am putting this down now. It will still be here tomorrow if it needs me. But tonight I am resting." At first it felt performative, but she kept doing it, night after night, and slowly her sleep deepened. Not because the worries disappeared, but because she stopped feeding them in the hours when she was most vulnerable. The practice is simple. Choose one worry that's been circling today. Hold it gently in your awareness. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, imagine setting it down beside you, not throwing it away, just placing it outside of yourself for the night. Say softly, "I release this until morning." Then lie down and return to your breath. You are not abandoning your responsibilities. You are honoring your need for rest, which is itself one of the most profound acts of self-care there is. The Buddha taught that a mind at rest is a mind that can see clearly. And clarity, not more nighttime worrying, is what actually helps. Let the night be night. Let rest be rest. You can pick the worry back up tomorrow if you need to, but chances are, by morning, it will look a little smaller. 5. Practice the pause before you react. There is a moment, just a fraction of a second long, that exists between what happens to you and how you respond. Most people never notice it. The email arrives with a sharp tone and the chest tightens immediately. The family member says something careless and the jaw clenches before the thought has even formed. The doctor's office calls and the mind races to the worst possible conclusion before anyone has spoken a word. Anxiety loves this gap. Or rather, it loves what happens when we skip over it. Because when we react without pausing, we are not responding to what is actually happening. We are responding to the story the mind has already written about it, usually the most threatening version available. Buddhist philosophy calls this the second arrow. The first arrow is the actual event, the pain, the difficulty, the uncertainty. The second arrow is what we do to ourselves in reaction to it. The shame, the catastrophizing, the tightening, the spiral. The Buddha taught that the first arrow is often unavoidable. The second one, we fire ourselves. The fifth habit is learning to pause deliberately before you fire that second arrow. Think of a woman named Helen, 66, who described herself as someone who had always been reactive, not unkind, just quick. Her nervous system was always slightly ahead of her, interpreting things through the lens of past hurts and old fears. When her husband came home quiet one evening, her mind immediately went to the worst. Is he upset with me? Is something wrong with us? She felt the anxiety rising before he had even taken his coat off. Turns out he was tired from a long drive. That was all. Helen began practicing what she called the 3-breath rule. Any time she felt her anxiety spike in response to someone or something, she would take 3 slow breaths before saying or doing anything. Not 3 frantic breaths, but 3 real, deliberate, grounding ones. In through the nose, out through the mouth, 3 times. In those seconds, something would shift. The initial alarm would soften enough that she could see past it. She could ask a question instead of making an assumption. She could respond to what was real rather than to what she feared. This practice sounds deceptively small, but it is genuinely transformational when done consistently. Because what you are doing is training the nervous system to trust that it has time, that not every sensation of discomfort requires immediate action, that you are safe enough to slow down. In meditation halls across Asia, teachers speak of beginner's mind, the quality of encountering each moment fresh, without the weight of predetermined conclusions. The pause is your beginner's mind in action. It is the space where anxiety loses its automatic power over you. So the next time something triggers your worry, before you speak, before you scroll, before you spiral, breathe. 3 full breaths. Let the first wave of reaction pass. And then, from that quieter place, decide what this moment actually needs from you. Not what your fear says it needs. What you, clear-eyed and present, can offer it. The pause is not hesitation. It is wisdom wearing patience's face. 6. End each day by counting what remained steady. Here is a habit that may seem simple, but carries within it one of the most quietly revolutionary ideas in all of Buddhist thought. Every evening, before you sleep, take a few minutes to notice not what went wrong, not what is still unresolved, not what you're dreading tomorrow, but what remained steady today. The mind that lives with anxiety has been trained, often over decades, to scan for threat. This is not a character flaw. It is, in fact, a survival instinct that once kept our ancestors alive. But in modern life, in the life most of us are actually living, this same instinct fires constantly at things that are not life-threatening. a difficult conversation, a change in plans, an unanswered message. The alarm keeps sounding even when there is no real danger. And over time, the mind begins to believe the world is more threatening than it is. The Buddhist concept of equanimity, upekkha in Pali, is not emotional flatness. It is not pretending nothing bothers you. It is the cultivated ability to remain grounded even as the waves of life rise and fall. And one of the most practical ways to build equanimity is to deliberately retrain the mind to notice what held firm, what stayed true, what was constant even on a hard day. This is not toxic positivity. You are not pretending the difficult things didn't happen. You are simply refusing to let them be the only story the day tells. A man named Bernard, 74, had developed a habit over many years of reviewing the day's failures before sleep. What he should have said differently, what he should have done better, where he had fallen short. His sleep was poor, and his mornings were heavy. After attending a Buddhist discussion group, he began trying something different. Each night, before lying down, he would quietly name 3 things that remained steady that day. Not good things necessarily, just things that held. My hands worked today. The sun came up. My neighbor waved. I breathed without effort all day long. I made a cup of tea and it was warm. At first, it felt almost embarrassingly small, but Bernard kept going. And over weeks, something began to shift in his nervous system. The world started to feel less precarious, not because anything had changed externally, but because he had started keeping different accounts. He was no longer only counting losses, he was counting the quiet, constant ground beneath his feet. The habit is this. Each evening, sit quietly for just a few minutes. Take a slow breath and ask yourself gently, what remained steady today? It could be something in your body, something in your home, something in a relationship, something in nature. It could be as small as the fact that your chair was still there when you needed to sit. Let yourself feel each one, not with forced gratitude, but with genuine recognition. This was real, this was here, this held. Over time, this practice rewires the mind's default setting. Instead of waking up braced for what might go wrong, you begin to wake up with a quiet baseline of trust. Trust that some things are reliable, that not everything is shifting, that beneath the anxiety, beneath the uncertainty, there is ground. The Buddha spoke often of the middle path, the place between grasping and despair, where peace is actually possible. This evening habit is a practice of that middle path, not ignoring what is hard, not inflating what is good, just seeing clearly what is simply, quietly, steadily here. And you are here. That above all else is what remained steady today. If you've stayed with me all the way to this moment, then something in these words found you. And I hope it felt like what it was meant to be. Not a lecture, but company. A quiet reminder that the path to inner peace is not paved with perfection. It is walked, one small habit at a time, with patience and with kindness toward yourself. Begin with one, just one, and let it be enough. Because you, exactly as you are already worthy of peace. Until next time, breathe gently, walk slowly, and remember, you are not lost, you are on your way.